I would like to get proof. I feel like I should see the video to testify for the proof of to
Ma'am,
see
the
that
enormous amount of evidence that he just testified to is the
I wasn't driving recklessly. I was just passing. I do apologize
ma'am.
if I'm unaware.
Reckless driving is actually you did get a break. You got a break on the side of the road where this trooper decided to write you a third less than what he could have written you. No,
So
ma'am.
yeah,
Even if you no, we stopped doing.
She walked in like traffic court was her personal stage show, batting her eyes like the judge was about to forget the law existed. The wild part is, she doesn't even realize she's already dodged a bullet. The cop clocked her way higher but knocked it down so she'd avoid a massive fine and license points. That's like a referee letting you foul 3 times in a row without blowing the whistle, and somehow you still complain? Instead of being thankful, she's here painting herself as the victim in a story where she's already been gifted a happy ending. Watching this is like seeing someone win a free meal and then demand dessert too. So who do you side with? The overconfident driver rewriting her own script, or the judge trying not to laugh at the performance? Let's go ahead and dive in.
Actual 88 and a 70. However, it was only written as 6 to 10 over. So, Ms. Aguilar, you are here on this 6 to 10 over speeder to do one of 3 things. First is you could admit responsibility to the citation, or 2, admit responsibility, but you'd like to provide some sort of explanation to court as to how or why this happened, or 3, you wish to contest this citation. In other words, fight the ticket at what we call informal hearing. What were you looking to do?
Number 2.
Okay, and what is it you'd like to tell me?
Your Honor, I'd like to explain what happened that day when I received the citation. I was in the left lane passing a slower moving vehicle, and I did increase my speed briefly in order to pass and merge back into the right lane. But I was not driving recklessly. I was pulled over shortly after by the officer who was originally traveling the opposite direction and made a U-turn on that highway. Given the circumstance and nearby traffic, I'm not even sure the speed he clocked was mine. I thought I was pulled over because at the time I did not have my license plate attached to the back. It was in my front seat. So I was not aware of getting pulled over for speed. I just thought it was my car needing the identification. During the stop, the officer did conduct the conduction or the interaction made me uncomfortable. He questioned several times about alcohol and drugs, despite there being no evidence. He kept pressuring that, so that kind of made me like really scared. He did peer through my windows of the car. The car is brand new. So there's really nothing there. I've never been in trouble before. I have a really good driving record. I do take driving seriously. I lost my brother to a reckless driver. I'm just asking the court to just please take the circumstances into consideration when reviewing the citation.
Okay. Well, ma'am, if you contested the citation, I would hear evidence and decide whether or not you were responsible or not. You're admitting responsibility to the citation, so I can't change the nature of your ticket. Now, lots of times what people, when they come in here, what they're concerned about is getting points on their license. Do you know what I mean by that?
Yes.
Is that what you're concerned about?
I'm concerned about the points and the amount. I'm just concerned about it all, Your Honor. This is my first ticket I'm trying to fight.
Well, first of all, the officer didn't write you a ticket for going 88 and a 70. The trooper gave you a break and wrote you the second wimpiest ticket he could write you. I think this is only a 1-point ticket. But here's what I'll explain to you about points. I'm not going to give you points on this. The trooper didn't give you points on this. Points don't come from us. All right, that fines and costs is the only penalty. Now, points come from Secretary of State. Secretary of State court, 2 different animals. They can't tell me what to do. I can't tell them what to do. Okay. But here's what I would say about points. First of all, points die a natural death every 2 years. So if you want to, just outweight this point and it will go away after 2 years. But maybe more to the point, if this is what concerns you, is there's a way for you to get rid of that point. But all I can do is explain to you how to do it for yourself. I can't do it for you. But are you curious?
I am curious. I'm also curious to know if I don't know, this is my first time. I'm not sure if I'm doing this right. Trying to fight it. I'm just agreeing with the officer. I honestly don't even remember that day how much speed I went, because like I said, he was traveling opposite and there was multiple cars. And he was behind.
Well, here's a couple of things I would tell you. First of all, we do not mind people coming in here and essentially saying, look, I don't know what I'm doing, but I want to see what happens. And this is what I want. The first thing first is, when you're telling me that I thought I got pulled over for no plate, that doesn't make a lot of sense, because the trooper, if he's coming at you the opposite way, he wouldn't know you didn't have a plate on the back of your car. So to spin around on you and pull you over is probably for a moving violation.
Well,
The other thing is, what's that?
I am so sorry, Your Honor. You can finish. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
The other thing is, most of the people don't realize just how far away that they're getting radared by that. So in other words, it would be the opposite direction radar in the front of the trooper's vehicle. Yes, you likely got radared when you were passing someone, and that's why it was 88. I will tell you this, though. The actual law is you still can only go up to the speed limit to pass somebody. That's how slow somebody's supposed to be going for you to pass them. You were allowed to go up to 70 to pass, but passing is not an exception to the speeding rule. You still only can go the speed limit. But like I said, if you don't remember how fast you're going, the trooper's testimony would have been, of course, that his radar said 88, and then he checked his radar. So if you had a hearing, I likely would have found you responsible. But here we are, sort of on the back end. But here's what I can tell you about points. On the Secretary of State's website, they have something called the Basic Driver Improvement Course. It's a safe driving quiz that you take online. I can't imagine it's very hard. It just takes up some of your day. Here are the 3 rules for it. You can't be a CDL driver, right? That means driving the big rigs. You're not driving the big rigs, right? 2, you can't be carrying more than 2 points on your license already. You wouldn't be, because you said I got this good driving record before. And 3, you can't have taken this test before to get rid of points, which I don't imagine you have before. You don't get to keep using this trick, but if you go to the Secretary of State's website and you take that Basic Driver Improvement Course, the carrot they give you is they'll remove the points from any one moving violation, which is what this is. So you have the opportunity to make it 0 points, but you have to jump through those hoops yourself. I can't do it for you. Does that make sense?
That does make sense.
Right. So otherwise, all that's left for you to do is, for us here on this ticket, is to call the district court to make arrangements to pay that fines and costs. And the point will either go away after 2 years, or you can make it go away if you want to take those steps. All right?
All right. I do have a question. If we're able to pull the footage of that day, because the officer did say his camera was on. And when I was passing the car, he wasn't behind me like right away. It was a few miles down the road, and then he went behind me. So that's why I thought it was my license, not the
I will
speed.
let the trooper correct me, but when they say that, the camera comes on when they turn on lights and sirens. So it wouldn't have been on coming at you when it caught you speeding, and then he looped around on you, and then if to pull you over, he put his lights on. That's the camera footage he'd have, not of the speeding incident.
Can he pull that's so difficult. That's
You can tell instantly this isn't about the ticket, it's about her needing to win the argument. The judge is bending over backwards to stay professional, but her energy makes the whole room heavy. When she admits she didn't even know her speed, that's basically like telling the court, I wasn't just breaking the law, I wasn't even paying attention. That's a 1-2 punch of reckless and clueless. The cop had already done her a favor by downgrading the speed, so there's literally nothing left to fight except for ego points. And judges aren't in the business of handing those out. Court time is a resource, burn it on nonsense, and the goodwill disappears fast. It's honestly a case study in how entitlement blinds people to reality. She's so locked in on being right that she doesn't even see the bigger risk she's creating for herself. It's like she's playing poker with the worst hand possible, but still shoving all of her chips in. What's your move here? Fold gracefully, or let her gamble her way into a bigger loss?
Since there is no proof, and he said I was going 88, and I'm just agreeing to it, what do I do, Your Honor?
Well, you could fight the ticket, but like I said, I know what his testimony is going to be, and your testimony is going to be, I really don't know how fast I was going. So
but
there's not much.
You just said he didn't have. You just said that there was the radar doesn't. He can't prove that radar was my car when he was trying.
No, ma'am, that's sort of a misunderstanding. Proof comes in many different forms, right? Now, if he had video footage, right, that would be one type of proof. But his testimony is in fact proof, because he would be under oath and he would testify as to your speed. That is proof.
And for mine, can I be under oath and testify?
You would be under oath as well, but your proof would be, I really don't know how fast I was going. I just don't think I was going that fast. Which one of those two proofs sounds more firm and that I would go with at the end of the day?
Well, I would go with mine because the officer was really traveling the opposite direction. And I know I'm a safe driver. That's why I said I don't know. And that's why I was so confused when he pulled me over, was because
Ma'am, would you like to have a hearing?
If that's possible, yeah, I think I would.
All right. So, Trooper, if you would go ahead and raise your right hand.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Aguilar, go ahead and raise your right hand.
I apologize about the video as well. I'm having connectivity issues.
That's all right, as long as I can hear you. You swear or affirm any testimony you give here today would be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
All right. Ms. Aguilar, it makes a lot more sense for me to start with the trooper. He has the burden to establish to me why you were issued a citation in the first place. But after that, you'll have an opportunity to either ask questions or testify on your own behalf, all right?
Okay.
And with that, Trooper, if you want to pick up the narrative somewhere where it makes sense, explain the issuing of this citation.
Yes, sir. I'd like the court to know, to start off, that I'm a certified MCOLS radar operator. The unit that I was using on the day that I issued the citation is certified by the state of Michigan radar unit. The radar unit that I was using is affixed to my patrol car dash, and I verified the working condition of the radar at the beginning and end of my shift, as I do every single day. On this specific day, on April 4th of 2025, approximately 7:49 a.m., in the county of Allegan, township of Gunplain, I was actually working stationary radar patrol. In the median just north of 106th Ave. I was facing oncoming traffic, so southbound traffic, while my patrol car was facing northbound. While doing so, I activated my stationary radar, opposite direction radar, at which time I observed a white Nissan passenger car pass through the operational range or beam of my radar. At this time, I observed the vehicle traveling 88 miles an hour in a 70-mile-per-hour zone, and subsequently initiated a traffic stop of the vehicle and identified the driver as Ms. Aguilar. And after a brief investigation, issued a citation for 6 to 10 over rather than the 18 over that I observed her traveling. I would like the court to know that my radar unit was free of any obstructions. The vehicle that I was tracking was the vehicle being driven by Miss Aguilar. I know that because as the vehicle passed through the operational range of my radar, I heard an audible tone corresponding with the speed. And then once the vehicle passed through the operational range of my radar, the tone ceased to exist. So I'm confident the target vehicle was the vehicle that I stopped, and the driver of the vehicle was the driver that I issued the citation to.
And Trooper, I'm just going to ask you a question or two because I know that Miss Aguilar is interested in how this works. You testified that you checked your radar at the beginning and end of your shift. I'm assuming what you mean by that is you checked it against your separately calibrated speedometer.
Correct. So we're required at the beginning and end of every shift. It's actually on our program or on our daily system, where we check and track the condition of the radar to make sure it's working in proper condition, that everything is accurate, and that there is nothing is inaccurate, nor is it not functioning properly.
And then let me ask you, Trooper, if during the check at the beginning of your shift, it did not check out, what would you do?
I would not be able to conduct radar. I would have to immediately contact Wheels or our technicians to come immediately and fix and calibrate and make sure to get the radar in working condition. It's actually, we are not allowed to use that radar unit if at any point in time it is not in proper working condition.
And then if it was working at beginning of shift, you wrote tickets all day, and then at your end of the shift, there was a problem with the radar, what would you do with the tickets you wrote all day?
They would immediately have to be voided.
And so, Ms. Aguilar, I'll turn this over to you now. It's your turn to either testify on your own behalf or ask questions of the trooper.
I would like to get proof. I feel like I should see the video to testify for the proof. To see
the enormous amount of evidence that he just testified to is the proof, just so we're clear.
Yeah, he said that he was clocking south, but I saw him while traveling before passing. He was moving and making a U-turn. He wasn't sitting still. That's why I'm really confident that there was other passing vehicles. And he said that he's confident that the radar did read, and that's not technically proof. Like, he's just verbally saying confident.
This is where it gets painful. The penalty is small, the points are nothing, and this whole thing could have been over before her coffee even got cold. Instead, she's pulling out the radar must be wrong card like it's a magic trick no one's ever heard before. Problem is, radar tech is battle tested. It's been upheld so many times in court that challenging it without proof is like trying to argue that the sun didn't rise this morning. Unless the device wasn't calibrated, it's airtight. And here's the kicker, the officer already gave her a discount by writing the ticket lower, so she's basically trying to negotiate down from a sale price that's already better than the shelf tag. At this point, it's no longer legal strategy, it's stubborn theater. The judge sees it, the room feels it, and the outcome won't change. The only thing on trial now is her patience level. Do you think she's actually convinced by her own story, or just addicted to the fight itself?
And then he was behind a different car before.
No, ma'am. I'm gonna sort of crawl through this because if there was somebody else behind you, we wouldn't do this. But I want you to leave here understanding what happened.
Okay.
So what he testified to is he's literally just sitting there with his radar on, right? So to make sure that the radar works correctly, in the beginning of his shift, his radar has to check against a separately calibrated speedometer in his vehicle and come up with the same reading. If it doesn't, he can't use the radar all day. Then he uses the radar all day, and he does that check at the end of the shift too. And if it's not working at the end of the shift against his separately calibrated speedometer, he would just void all the tickets that he wrote.
Right.
So the first thing he said is visually he sees your car, right? Now we would back in the old days, you'd let officers or troopers guess at speeds because this is what they do all day and they're pretty good at guessing speed. But we don't let them say how fast you're going. But we do let them testify that they think this automobile is traveling above the speed limit of 70 miles an hour, which he did. Okay. Then what he did is get you with his radar, right? So he knows that you're the car in the radar because it tones out. In other words, it makes an audible tone. And the audible tone changes in pitch depending on how fast it goes. So he also knows if that tone doesn't match the number he's seeing, something's wrong. Okay. And then once your car is out of the cone of his radar, the tone stops. So that's how he knows it's sort of your car. Then he sort of flipped around on you and pulled you over. So he actually has testified 3 different ways that you are traveling well above the speed limit of 70. And what you're telling me is, I don't know how fast I'm going, but I just don't think I was going that fast. Now, I have to pick one of those sets of evidence, right? Either your evidence, which is your testimony, or his evidence, which is his testimony. And I don't have to find beyond a reasonable doubt. You've heard that before, right? Because this isn't a crime. The standard for this, because it's a civil infraction, is you likely did it, 51%. So when I weigh all his evidence and testimony versus essentially the lack of evidence and testimony on your behalf, of course I would find it is more likely than not that you were actually speeding. You were actually going faster than the ticket you were written, but you were at least going 6 to 10 over. And that's why I would find you responsible. If you're searching for more than that, or that doesn't feel like a sufficient explanation to you, I don't know what else I can do for you, ma'am. That's how this works all day, every day.
I understand, Your Honor. Is it possible confirmation from his radar to make sure that it was working accurately that day for me?
Well, I could have him testify to that, but we're going to wrap things up here. Every, I think, 90 days or so, a tier 3 operator checks the radars, and then every 120 days, a tier 4 operator checks all the radars of the car. And if there's any problem with any of the radars, they take those out of order. And there is some sort of maintenance logbook that the state police keep for that. You probably could subpoena those records or ask at a formal hearing that somebody would bring those records in. But an informal hearing, I would not expect the trooper to be familiar with those records at this state and time. Just know that there is, in fact, a method of continuously checking these radars that if there are problems, they're taken out of circulation so that they're in circulation is sort of the prima facie evidence that against that set of checks, they are working.
Thank you, Your Honor. I just
That
want you
makes
to
sense?
that I wasn't driving recklessly. I was just passing. I do apologize.
Ma'am,
if I'm unaware.
reckless driving is actually a crime. There is a whole
Yeah.
charge for reckless driving. That's not what you have. You just have a charge of speeding, like
Yeah,
lots
that's
of
what I'm
people do.
Take into consideration if the ticket can be waived because I am a responsible, good driver.
And ma'am, here's the problem, right? If what we did was judge everybody who gets a ticket on whether or not they're a good driver or not, that would be incredibly unfair. So bad drivers are just automatically responsible for their tickets because they did it in the past, or good drivers couldn't possibly be speeding because they've never got a speeding ticket before. That's sort of not, I mean, it's scary that that would be how the legal system works, right? I would judge this circumstance just on this circumstance, this time frame, and the facts that are presented before me, which is exactly what we did. Now, as far as getting a break, you did get a break. You got a break on the side of the road where this trooper decided to write you a ticket that's a third less than what he could have written you for, right?
What could he have written me? I don't know what he could have written me for because.
Well, ma'am, if you're going 88 in a 70, how many miles over the speed limit is that? 18 miles, right?
Well, that's what he's saying, and I was agreeing. So obviously, I have to own up to that.
No,
so,
ma'am.
yeah.
Even if you, no, we stopped doing that. I didn't take it that you agreed. We had a hearing, and I found clearly that you were going 18 miles over the speed limit. He did not write you a ticket for that because that's a 15 to 20 over. That's not what you're here on. That's not what I just found you guilty on. I found you guilty on a 6 to 10. He could have written you a 10 to 15, and you would have been responsible on that. He could have wrote you a 6 to 10. He could have wrote you a 1 to 5. He not only gave you a break 1 down, he gave you a break 2 tickets down. And you're still here just saying nobody gave you a break, right?
No, you're misunderstanding me because I'm not aware of breaks and tickets. This is my first one. So I hope you understand that I don't know that that is a break. But thank you for informing me about that. I'm here to
Yes.
fight it because I was just speeding to pass a car. That's it. That's all, Your Honor. And that's the break that I was looking to get. If I'm accused of speeding, I apologize. I was just passing a car in the left lane and got back over. He then was traveling behind a different car, turned his lights on, then came to me, and then I pulled over. Like I said,
ma'am, it takes a while for him to catch up to you, right? Because you're going
he didn't take a
70
while.
something miles an hour and he's going no miles an hour. He has to turn around and come after you. Takes
he
a
was
while. But one more thing, Miss Aguilar, because you had a contested hearing, you now do have a right to go to what's called formal hearing. Formal hearing is in front of the district court judges with the prosecutor's office. But to go to formal hearing, you must do 2 things. One is you must ask for that within 7 days of today's date. Your window of opportunity to contest this further closes after 7 days. And 2, you must come in and post a cash bond in the same amount as the fine to guarantee your appearance at formal hearing. Do you understand your rights on appeal?
Yes, I do.
All right. Then we're all set for what we need to do here today. I'm going to go ahead and release parties. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Have a good day.
This hearing was the definition of courtroom comedy. The judge is calmly explaining reality, and she's treating it like background noise. Most judges would have slammed the brakes on her antics right away, but he gave her rope, and wow, did she use it. The best moment was when he reminded her that speeding while passing is still speeding. That's like saying water is wet, but somehow she acted like it was a brand new concept. What blows my mind is how often entitlement shows up disguised as fairness. People think their excuses bend the law, but all it does is waste time for everyone else in line. Traffic court was designed to move quickly. Dragging it out over a mercy ticket just slows down the system. So here's my question. Should judges crack down harder on people who turn court into a soap opera? Or is patience the better play? Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.